Hello, my name is David Linton. I run Updata, and I wanted to share with my close contacts and clients how I got to 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. On Friday last week, I hit 30,000 followers, adding over 1,000 people a month, and many of my clients are on LinkedIn and sharing charts, and so I just wanted to share how this is done. And probably the first thing is my LinkedIn following has just really, and there's lots of tips and tricks here that I just want to share with you as an Updata user. So around a year ago, I was at 20,000 followers. I actually started using LinkedIn really in the pandemic. Before then, I just thought it was a place that people went who are looking for a job, and I've always run Updata, so I've never really been in the market for a job, and I thought it really was a place where you put your CV up and you were always in the market for a job. So around the time of the pandemic, I went on LinkedIn and noticed that people were using it more and more as a tool for connecting and posting in business. So it was less about trying to get a job and as much about connecting with all your business contacts. And I had about 1,000 contacts, so it really wasn't something I was ever looking at. And I thought, I just don't have the time and the energy to post here, and what's it all for? But that all changed with the pandemic, and I was adding followers very, very quickly, really for a couple of years, and then last year, just one simple thing. I would have been at around 25,000 followers. I'm now at 30,000 followers. Just one little simple thing has led to 5,000 more followers, and I will share that with you. And so I think the key thing here is there's nothing clever. It's just showing you how I've done it and that you can do it too. That's the really key thing. So why is 30,000 a significant number? It is actually a bit of a milestone for LinkedIn. You can only have 30,000 contacts. After that, you can't add any more people. They can follow you, but you can't have more than 30,000 contacts. Now, actually, I've got 30,000 followers, but contacts-wise, I'm actually at 28,200, and that's really interesting. Since that change, we've got a lot more followers, and not necessarily people who want to connect with me, and that's fine. And in fact, quite a few LinkedIn connection requests. They say they're already following me. Do I want to connect? And I look at them and think now more and more, do I really want to connect with these people? And I'll talk about that. So the key difference here is that I've only got 1,800 people more that I can add, but I'm through the 30,000 followers. So those last 1,800 people I'm going to be really quite key about, because after that I can't add anyone. So I do want to keep some headroom there for me to add people that I would like to be connected to. So that's the subtle difference. But once you hit the 30,000 mark, you can't add any more contacts. So the course format is, I just really go through what I'm going to talk about. So why build a LinkedIn following in the first place? And that's quite an interesting question, and not necessarily that easy to answer. I'm not building a following just for the sake of it, so I'll talk about why I'm doing it, and why you might want to do it. We'll look at some LinkedIn stats just about the platform and how it works. The LinkedIn algorithm, which is really important if you want your posts to go viral, and posts that get the most engagement. And I'm going to focus really on charts because that's what I use, and just how I seem to get good engagement. And then, of course, if you have more followers, you're going to get more engagement. And the best way to add connections, and it's Tuesday morning, and normally by Friday, I've hit my weekly limit in terms of the number of people I can add. So at the start of the week, I'm back into the mode of adding connections. And this is a process that I'm going to do less of because I've only got so much headroom left for connections, but I'm going to share it with you while I can. And then I'm just using Updata with LinkedIn, and then how I can help you build your following. So we're going to focus on that as well. I don't know how long the course is going to take. I'm hoping about an hour or so. I'm going to move quite quickly. Of course, you can pause and try these things yourself, but I just wanted to share the process with you. So the first question is, why build a LinkedIn following? And the obvious answer is if you have something to sell, and that might be software, research, training, subscriptions. But do be very careful because LinkedIn is not the place of the hard sell. I'm going to talk about that quite a lot. I get people constantly trying to sell me something, and I just ignore them. And so you almost have to create an environment where people come to you. It's an idea of pull rather than pushing at people. So you've got to create that pool where people come to you or they make an inquiry. And I get inquiries all the time, which I pass to my team. And that is because I'm not trying to push to individuals. It's just they come to me. So that's the obvious one if you have something to sell. And in my case, we've got quite a big feature coming in the next few months, and I'm very aware that the place I'm going to start talking about and showing this new feature is LinkedIn. And so that's having a 30,000 audience to talk to about it for me will be very, very interesting. One of the other things is to make yourself more valuable. So if you're in a job, the bigger your following, the more your employer might say, wow, that's really useful that you've got this following. It'll keep employers a little bit on their toes, I guess. And then events. So, I speak at quite a few conferences, and I find now that I've got this following, more and more people want me to speak at conferences. And quite often I get, could you promote this event to your LinkedIn audience? And I sort of say, well, I'm not involved with the event, so why would I post it? I mean, I'm obviously going to post if I'm speaking at an event or I'm involved in an event in some way. But if I'm not, where's it taking me and my audience? And that's the really important thing, is where's it taking my audience? So you can increase your value to employers or contacts or events or just by having a bigger following. You might want to create awareness in readiness for one of these things. So, for example, I talked about the fact that I've got something coming and I feel like I've got the audience ready to start talking about this new idea. And that's sort of a case of build the audience ready for when you have something big to say. The community. So this idea of community versus following, and really my community is technical analysts and people who are more passionate, the people I want to engage. And there are a lot of people that are sort of on the edges or the margins of where I want to talk to or who I want to talk to. And if they're outside my primary sort of community of people that I want to engage with, then that's that. I don't want to build a following just for following's sake. So it is about quality more than just quantity. And then looking at ways in which you monetize your network. I do have some stats on this. It's a numbers game. And the numbers are pretty small. So the bigger your audience, that's part of it. And of course, adding 10% to your audience all the time is a snowball effect. So when I had 1,000 users, getting the next 100 users was probably as much of a challenge then as now getting 1,000 users is. So, or more. So that's quite key. And then rewarding your most loyal followers. And that's in terms of people who like my content, I like their content, clients who go on sharing their things. And I'll talk about how I can help you at the end of this session as well. So, and last of all is just purely wanting to give, to educate, to add value. You're a leader in your field. You want to maintain that leadership. You want to demonstrate to your audience that you know your stuff. And that you want to share. And in fact, I put this course together on the weekend really because I've learned so much using LinkedIn, and I think it's a shame not to share it with my deepest contacts and clients, and people that I want to share this with. And there'll be some people I don't want to share this with, but ultimately it's about sharing it with the people that I really want to connect with and share what I'm doing. So it's just an innate human thing that if you know something, you want to tell people about it. So that's a driver for me as well. Just some of the stats on LinkedIn. There's 660 million users on LinkedIn, and half of those people are active monthly. Microsoft bought LinkedIn, I think it was for around $28 billion a few years back, and at the time that just seemed such a rich price to pay, but they've gone on to really it's become a big part of their business. 39% of people pay for LinkedIn Premium. I do. I can't remember all the exact benefits that LinkedIn Premium gives you, but certainly seeing people have viewed you and things like that, and you can look on LinkedIn at the different plans, but that's what I use. And it's not much. It's $390 a year, I think, or something, £390. It's £1 a day kind of thing. The users in the US are about 160 million. In India, for example, there's 62 million. So you can see just how quickly you get to. It's a global reach. I mean, it's really used in hundreds of countries. Well, pretty much every country. There's around 100,000 articles a week and 30,000 long form, and 9 billion content impressions. So it's quite a challenge to stand out in that noise and that environment is quite key. And a lot of this would apply to other social media channels like Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, and now Threads. I don't really use Twitter as much, primarily because I feel I can see the audience better on LinkedIn. I can write longer posts and put forward my argument more clearly. So I'm much more a LinkedIn fan than I am a Twitter fan. Although I do use Twitter, I prefer LinkedIn. The best time to post is Tuesday morning till Thursday afternoon. I'm not sure whether that's European time or US time, but those are roughly the times that I post. And the average number of connections on LinkedIn is somewhere between 400 and 930, apparently. That was as of a month ago in 2023. It seems that my average is a few thousand. And given that I've got, in terms of my followers, seem to all have an average of 3,000. And so that means I've got a potential reach of my 30,000 times those 3,000 of around 100 million people. So it's just incredible when you think just how big your following can be. So it's the ability to reach mass audience. It's effectively like mass advertising, and we'll look at that as well. But interestingly, most of my contacts have less followers than me. I would say I notice maybe around 100 of my LinkedIn 30,000 followers have more contacts than me. So I'm certainly seem to be in the upper echelons. Most people seem to be below 10,000, and certainly less than half, and quite a few are just in the low thousands. Now, if you want to take that audience of several thousand or a few thousand and build it to this 30,000, especially if you're in my kind of area of what I do, then hopefully this is really going to help you. So the LinkedIn algorithm, and you can go online and try and learn as much as you can about the LinkedIn algorithm, but and they do change it, and Microsoft now basically are changing this algorithm all the time to beat bots and automated content and that sort of thing. And it's quite secretive as to how it precisely works. But basically, I'm just going through the points here. So firstly, it's based on knowledge and advice. So if you're adding value and it's seen to be something that's helpful to the community, to your community, then you're going to find that the algorithm will you're basically going to find that your content will be pushed to more people. And generally speaking, you want to avoid being Facebooky. It's not sort of, hey, look at me, I'm on my yacht, or hey, look at me, I'm sitting in first class on a plane. It's not. You've got to avoid being Facebooky. Is it adding value to your community? And so you've got to think about your audience, distinct audience, your core subject, and meaningful comments. So things that people are going to say, is it the sort of post that I would like? Does it pass the acid test? Would I like to see this post? Is this something that people might not have noticed, not have seen? In my case, it's charts. I focus very much on charts. Here's a chart that you might not have seen. I posted one the other day on olive oil, for example, the price of olive oil, and I didn't know about that, and most of my clients wouldn't know about that, and so it's just bringing things to the fore. So it's not salesy, not promotional. Just one little tip here is you should never put links in your content. If you put a link in the content, so you put a post up, and here's a link for where you can go, especially if that link's outside LinkedIn to Twitter or YouTube or wherever. If you put those links in that, the algorithm will push you right down. One little tip: you can put links in the comments. And I'll show you how to do that. So that's another thing. But you'll find your posts will be pushed right down if you put a link in. LinkedIn pushes to a small group first. It's sort of like a little test run. They push it to a small group first and watches for early engagement. And if there's early engagement, then they'll push it to another group and to more people and to a bigger group. And basically it gets pushed higher up in terms of the posts and who will see it based on the early engagement that you get. So engagement is really important, and engagement is likes, comments, shares, connect invitations, and I've said there are value because you don't want to necessarily be connected to everybody. I find more and more I'm declining connection requests because they're just not in my core audience. They want to sell me IT services, for example, and I go, well, are you going to add value? And we'll look at who you want to add. And as I said, would I value this post? The headline is quite important, and the first few lines on LinkedIn are quite important because it says read more, and those first couple of lines, are they going to will you to click that read more and read the post? That learn more, that's quite significant. And ask, will people engage? And especially longer comments. Anyone who makes a comment, you want to respond to that. So the frequency and the type of posts, the first thing is to be consistent. How many times a day? Well, probably around 4 times a day is a sort of maximum. I've probably broken that maximum a few times. And the minimum is 2 times a week. So, you want to be active on LinkedIn. Certainly, visiting once or twice a week and nurturing your audience. And you want to maximize the platform. It's not just a case of posting text. You can post images. In my case, it's charts. Virtually none of my posts are without an image, polls being the exception. Videos, if you're going to record videos, and we'll talk about that as well. And I'm using Camtasia to record this video at the moment, and that's what I use to record the videos on my LinkedIn. And then utilize groups, and I'm going to talk about that as well. So posts that get engagement. So let's get straight down to it. What posts get engagement? And I'm constantly looking back at my posts to ascertain what's worked and how can I take away from what's worked and do that again. So we're going to look at charts, pictures, videos, polls, groups, and my own stats. So I want to share that with you. So in LinkedIn itself, you can look at your content performance. And so this is, and I'll go to my LinkedIn in a minute, but here for example, I've looked back over the last year, I've had 6 million impressions, and I've had 20,000 engagements. That's where people have liked. So here you can see 160 engagements, 160. So you can actually do that by engagements. And the way to do that, I'm going to go just straight to my LinkedIn. The way to do that is you go to LinkedIn. If you click on your profile and analysis and tools, you'll see here post impressions, profile views, total followers, and search appearances. So by going to this one here, the profile views, so you can see last week was really good. I haven't done anything yet this week. So yesterday was just over carry from last week. That's the weekend. Yesterday was only 6,000 people, and so far today, nothing. I haven't been on LinkedIn since Friday, actually since Thursday. So, it's quite key that you see that drop off. But here you can see these are the posts that got the most calls. So I can go and look at 365 days, and so that's where that 6 million comes in. And there it is. So it's gone up another 13,000 since then. So I'm obviously losing low impressions. I mean, the impressions back here, back last summer, there were days where I was get less than 1,000 impressions. And you can see as my audience has grown and then my knowledge has grown, my average impressions has gone right the way up. So that's impressions. And then you can do engagements, and engagements is actually almost more important because you can see which posts have produced the most engagement, and there's some really good lessons to learn from this, and I will share these with you. So the other thing you can do is just say, you can think, how far do you want to look back? So I can look back and say, over the last 7 days, which of my posts did well? And so you can see the number of engagements, and typically my posts are getting around 20-25 engagements, and if I wanted to look at that in terms of impressions, then I can see which posts have produced the most impressions. So that's quite good, and you can just right hand click and open in a new link. I use a wheel mouse, by the way. I just find it so much easier, and there I can see this price of wheat had 4,600 impressions and only 13 likes, so that's quite low. So it's quite interesting to look at that. So coming back to the content performance, it is good to keep evaluating what's worked, and I'm going to share with you now what's worked for me. So making your charts stand out. So if you're an Updater user, I'm going to show you how to do this towards the end. But just a normal chart will get less response than actually putting some imagery behind your chart. So I use flags quite a lot, or just making the screen want to make you look at it. So here's the Indian flag under the Indian stock market. Here's one on Bitcoin where I've used a font. I can do this font in Updater, and I just went game over. And so that's quite key. By the way, I use hashtags. They say you shouldn't use too many. I probably do use too many, but it's putting your hashtag there so that people get used to searching your hashtag. But making your charts stand out is quite key, and we'll look at some of the posts that have worked really well. But what's interesting here, this was over a year ago, the war of Ukraine, when the Russia-Ukraine war broke out. I did this one, and this did sort of almost go viral. I had 507 likes, 508 likes, and I had a like the other day, which is how I managed to pull this back out, because after a year you tend to lose sight in LinkedIn of your old posts. So I just did this. This is a Russian invasion index. This was TTF, Dutch gas, European gas, and if we went below this level, we're in the peace zone. If we went above this level, we're in the war zone. I was effectively saying the chart is telling us whether we're going to go to war, and this was just before Russia. And I said here, if Russia invades Ukraine, then it's likely to surge, and I gave targets and key levels to watch. And here's another one where I've taken a screenshot of UpData, and I'll show you how to do that later. And will Apple brush off the China supply chain once? So that's I put that in an image. And whilst I'm here, I can show you what I do in PowerPoint. Is I have all my charts. So I didn't do this initially, but now I store all these charts that I'm going to use in PowerPoint, and basically it allows me to just look back at old content and reuse that content. So it's a good example of how I do the charts, and putting imagery behind. I'll show you how to do that. But it's just really powerful. So here's the one on olive oil, for example. And I noticed a news item that olive oil had gone up because of the extreme heat in southern Europe and the fires. And so, I just thought it was interesting to post a chart. Luckily, my data feed had that in, and I could go and draw the chart. So it's really a case of, you say Bitcoin back below 30,000. I put this in here on these fonts, by the way. I use the shadow feature, which is quite new, and in PowerPoint. So it's just making your charts sort of stand out before so someone sees the chart and it just stands out. And so I look at the chart and go, and then you see the text, and would I want to, so not all stock markets are falling, or game over, or will Apple brush off China supply? It's putting things on the chart that will the user to then want to read about it. So that's really what I do there. And so it's just a case of just reusing those chart ideas, and that's that same PowerPoint presentation, just showing you how many different charts I've got. I also do pictures. So this one is actually my sister's dog. I was dog sitting. It was a Friday afternoon, and the dogs were getting itchy to go for a walk. And she just kept looking at me like, are we going out now? Are we going out now? And so I just did this, look, it's Friday. I've closed all my positions for the week. Can we go out now? And and it had 177 likes, 20,000 impressions. Didn't have a huge number of impressions, but had a lot of engagement. And I think, this is being a bit Facebooky. But I've related it back to what I talk about: charts, markets. Same here. This one was how long prime ministers have lasted, and Truss had not lasted very long, and with just the trend in prime ministers lasting less and less time. It was actually a chart on Twitter. I saw it. I said, this chart on Twitter did make me smile, and I made sure I included the name of the guy in there. I didn't want to just steal his chart, and so people could see where it came from, and again, a lot of likes, 152 likes. This one was an old article. I was going through some stuff a year ago when I found this old article that was on the back of the Telegraph, me rollerblading past the London Stock Exchange, and I shared it, and again 146 likes, and it adds a human dimension. So don't be too Facebooky, don't sort of go too much look at me, link to your core group, but being personal can be good. It's just trying to get that aspect right, and that can be quite challenging. And then charts and pictures behind. So one of the things you can do in UpData, and I'll show you how to do this, is you can put pictures behind the charts, and that again just makes it more interesting. And I try to be a little bit humorous. So it's decision time. for basically the Fed and the Bank of England. Interest rates has been a really big story. It's not really technical analysis. It's not really what I do, but I know that a lot of people in my marketplace are wondering about it. And so what are you going to do? So this is, Powell saying, what are you going to do? Jerome Powell saying, what are you going to do? And Andrew Bailey saying, no, you go first. And basically, I put some cards in their hand. I did a little bit of work in Photoshop. And that image I've been able to reuse. And again, it didn't get a lot of likes here, but this was in a group. In other places, it did get a lot of likes, and I'll talk about groups. But the idea of charting, putting charts behind pictures is really key. And here again, you can put the flags behind charts in Updata so that your grid lines are still there. And here I did, this was Russia, US crude oil price, US wanting crude oil to be lower, Russia wanting crude oil to be higher. And this is a Frankie Goes to Hollywood, when two tribes go to war. Just an idea, basically. And this one was a piece of chess on the gas price. Before you make your next move, you need to pay for your euros, your oil in rubles. Can we just use a little less and still pay in euros? It's just this sort of, but being very conscious that some of these subject areas, especially like war and Ukraine, are quite sensitive. So you do need to be careful. Videos, I record my videos on Camtasia. They have to be no more than 10 minutes. Don't record your video on YouTube and put a link on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn will push it down. Whereas if you record the video and upload the video to LinkedIn, then it will get more traction. And I post these on different groups. So here's one on the energy trading group. Here's one on power and gas professionals. And then some of my videos, I might be on holiday. So here I'm standing on a beach in the Bahamas, and I still take my laptop with me wherever I travel, and basically, just recording, hey, I'm here in the Bahamas, I'm on holiday, but I am still looking at the markets, and then I go back to my hotel room, and I put that little bit on the beginning, and then I say, and now let's look at the markets. And I did that outside the New York Stock Exchange. So it's quite good for just building a stronger connection, because now you see me, and you kind of get to know the person, and people watch my videos, and they typically get around 10,000 views, and that is putting me in front of my audience. It's quite challenging. It's a bit sort of daunting at first to record the videos. I've been doing it now for a long time, and I just do it. And don't be too scared to make a fool of yourself, I guess. In the end, people will either like you or they won't. And I can tell you that you put your head above the parapet. Someone commented on my video the other day, your work lacks depth. And very tempted. He had about 290 followers. I had just under 30,000 followers. Very tempted to say, yeah, but I've got 30,000 followers and you've got less than 1% of that. But I just thought, don't go there, just let it ride. In fact, I think I said something like, you can't please everybody all of the time. So, but the videos are great if you want to show something, demonstrate something, and new concepts, new ideas, something new, something you've done, something you've made, something you've built. I typically with charts today, I'm looking for charts that are in the market now. So I'm running Updata here. So I'm looking for things that have changed. So I can see Hong Kong's up 4% overnight. So is there a story there? Is the chart better? I'm seeing that US 10-year yields are climbing again. We're seeing that now hitting sort of 2-week highs. And so is that a bit of a story? Bitcoin is below 30,000, struggling to get through the cloud. Is there a little bit of a story there? And then I can go to other places. I can look at what's happening in the energy mix, and then I can go right through to my own portfolio as well. So it's about looking around for an idea, but then if you can't see anything that's worth saying, then don't say it. So polls, and it was actually polls that led to the stepped change in my follower acquisition, and I discovered these just several months back and started posting in polls. It does help if you've got an audience, and you do want to post them on groups. But if you look at my content performance over the last 90 days, for example, it's all polls. The polls produce masses of impressions. You ask a question and people engage. And so the polls have been just fantastic. And here we see a very simple question for the weekend. Now that Apple's worth 3 trillion, should you own it or not? And 783 people in this group voted. 58% said yes, 42% said no, and that's quite incisive. Because most people would think, well, nearly everyone owns Apple. Everyone thinks you should own Apple, but actually you realise half the market doesn't, and that's potentially interesting because that means there's still more people in the market to potentially come in and buy Apple. Maybe that's a way of looking at it. And then I post the results when the poll's finished, and I'll show you how I do that. And in fact, we'll run a poll today. We'll run one and you see how to do it. And then I report the results. So what will the Bank of England do to interest rates next? This is on the 3rd of August next week. What are they going to do? 26% of voters say no change. 60% of the market thinks a 0.25% rise, and only 14% thinks a 0.5% fall. So yeah, really interesting. And then I put that out there. This question for the group is quite a good hashtag because again, it engages people, and I put that up, and there's the poll result. Had over 1,000 votes, and it's good. Groups. So again, probably just about a year ago, I started searching groups and adding groups, and I've got these groups. You can only have so many. I think it's probably around 50. Maybe 60, 70, I'm not exactly sure, but I've got a lot of groups, and sometimes I post things on different groups. So they're down the side on LinkedIn. If you go to your LinkedIn page, there's another message to someone trying to sell me business services. And if we go here, you'll see groups, and you can expand those groups, and they're all the groups that I'm a member of, and you can post in these groups. So that's what I do, and I decide, and someone said to me at a conference in New York a couple of months ago, oh my god, your posts are everywhere, and that's because I post them on groups. So if they're a member of that group, they'll see my post on my page, then I'll see it in a group, and if they're a member of another group, they'll see it in that group as well. And so it's reinforcement. The problem with groups is, but will they go viral? So groups are great for follower acquisition, and I'm going to talk about that. But I'm reaching a point where I'm hitting my limit of how many people I can add. Do I want to think more carefully about groups? And so I'm going to share that as well. And so that kink there, I would have been at around 25,000 now. We're now at 30,000. That kink there is primarily as a result of groups. And in the groups, I'll show you how I go and add people. So I also just export all my stats. And so you can do that by going here, and you basically go back to the analysis and tools. I could have clicked it there, up the top here, and if I go for my analysis and stats and I click export up the top here, it will take it all out to spreadsheet. So you're going to get basically what you get is the number of posts, and in fact I'm going to show you the sheet that I had. It's LinkedIn stats. So basically, and the way I did my followers is I started at the number now and just looked at the daily additions and just did a little bit of a formula. So I've been able to draw that graph not from LinkedIn, but from being able to just work backwards how many people were added over the last each day, and I just could then arrive at a total and draw a chart. So that's come from the stats of my daily acquisition, and I've just done a cumulative so I can see how it's changed. You can see the demographics, so you can see where they're from. So 23% of mine are from London, no big surprises there. You can see which companies. And of course I've done this over a year, but the key thing is you could do it for less. So these are the engagements, these are the impressions on a daily basis. So I could produce charts as well. So you can see a year ago my impressions were around 1,000. If you look at my totals now, they're multi-thousands. Really significant difference. And contacts being added, quite often over 100. Impressions or engagements. So those are impressions, those are engagements. And see, I can easily have on a day, 200 engagements. If I go back a year ago, my engagements were very, very low. And so then I can actually look at the top posts. So I can literally go here and I can go and look at that one, and lo and behold, it's the dog, which is the one I just showed you. So, it's great to be able to go back through your top 50 posts. Now, what you can do is you'll only be able to look at the top 50 posts of the last year, but what you could do, if I go back to my presentation, there it is, what you could do is you could go and run this for the last 7 days and you'll get your top 50, and you can run it for the last 90 days. So back in the LinkedIn engagements, I can go here 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, 90 days, and 365 days. So I do have the ability to see my top 50 posts in the last 7 days, 14 days, 28 days, and 90 days, and then over a year. So I can, if I really want to get to the information, I can go through it. I kind of know, and I've done so much analysis that I don't feel the need to spend a lot of time going through it, but it is a useful exercise for you to understand. So also running across groups. So the one where we saw the pack of cards, the Fed and the Bank of England, I ran that across different groups, and I look at my impressions, and then I look at charts today. So I ran charts today and I looked at my impressions, and then I did one on US banks. I did this SVB mug. And that one was a little bit risky, but it was when Silicon Valley Bank folded. It was a bit humorous, and it got a lot of impressions. And so I get to just get a feel as to which groups are producing the most. And then, charts today, analysis of the videos. So I did different videos and I did captions, and I'm just trying to work out what works. And I'm looking at the impression per group here. So I'm saying, well, this is the size of the group. I'm getting on this group, I'm getting 11% of the group size impression. On my own, I'm getting less than I was on the group. But then when you look at the views and the impressions, you see I'm at 28% of my audience. Here it's, and I've marked, and then minutes. I've looked, you can actually go in and look at the number of minutes that your video's watched, which groups are watching it for longest. My own following is watching it for an average of 46 seconds. So my following tends to watch my stuff more. So that's also just another analysis. So you can see it is quite a science. And then these are the poll stats. So when I run the polls, this is helpful for me to understand how well a poll is done across different groups. I look at the votes, the impressions, the group size, so I can get votes per impression and votes per group. And then impressions per group and just likes, and I will look at this. But for measurement and just understanding how well your polls go, this is quite key, and I'll do this so you'll see how I've done it. So my group categories are basically general markets, stocks, forex, bonds, commodities, and energy, and probably really under general is then sort of stocks, forex, or stocks and markets, forex, commodities, and energy. They're a big part of my group. So I will do different posts for different groups, and that's really quite key. So let's just start with, so we look at inspiration for a good post. So I look at my quote screens, and I'm looking at a key chart event. So as I said, I could look at my quote screen this morning and go, what's a good post? So, I could basically just let's have a look. Oil, emissions. Oh, yeah, we're seeing this arise, and of course we put out to each day to our clients. So here's what we said this morning on different markets. So gas would go up, oil would go up. So I could look at yesterday, for example, and say these were our targets. We gave targets of 82 on crude oil when it was at 81. All right, it's not a big target, but those were the targets we gave. And if we look at crude oil today, go back here, I'm in Updater, look at crude oil today, it's now at 83. So it did that move yesterday. And so I could go and post a chart of crude oil. And I would just go to to my LinkedIn page, and I would start by just hitting a photo. Now, as it happens, I keep all my LinkedIn files in a folder. So this was the olive oil one, and I make an image. Normally I take it to LinkedIn, and then I save it. So what I'm going to do is just write a simple post. In fact, one that would work quite well is, we said yesterday that crude oil would go up, and so I could take that and post that, and then what I would then do is go to just take this away. What I would then do is go and post it here, and then go to the groups and decide which groups I wanted to post it in. So really very simple. And so in terms of inspiration, I would just probably start by looking at my quote screens and saying what's happened. Things in the news. So quite often I will go to BBC News and just say what's happening in the business news. Virgin Media, so I could comment on that. Unfortunately, I can't really comment on Twitter anymore, but maybe I could link that to Tesla somehow. My Tesla posts on Tesla have been quite good. So that's something I could do. Also in LinkedIn, there is LinkedIn News. So you almost want to try and preempt what they're going to talk about, but Apple to make iPhones more expensive. So I could do a chart of Apple saying, Apple have announced they're going to put the price of their up by 10%. Will this raise the Apple chart by 10%? And I could go to Updater. Where is Updater? Here. And I could go and say, right, Apple. I'm going to open a chart. There's a chart of Apple. Apple are proposing that their price is going to go up 10%. Let's say that's another 20 cents on top of 195. So will it take Apple to 215? And I could draw an arrow and say, will Apple go up another 10% on the basis of them raising their prices 10%? I can ask it as a question. I could even do it as a poll if I wanted. And then in my text, I would say, question for the group. So that's quite just an example, something that's in the news, and that's where I would get some inspiration for. When I come to do a poll, what is the burning question in the market this week? And I guess one of the questions is, is the Federal Reserve going to raise rates? They've got a rate holiday in August, so they can't do it until September. Are they going to do it now, or are they going to have to wait till September? Missing a month could be risky. I could pose that as a question and poll. Part of the problem is I've done Federal Reserve kind of to death, and I don't want to. I kind of feel that I risk running behind like a broken record. The told you so I just showed you. Be careful here. Don't be too clever. Just explain why you said it. And so in my case, I would go back to that screen here, where, and then what I would do is I would screen grab this. Normally I use a screen grab that, save it as an image, and then I say we saw these targets yesterday, and we said to our clients that crude oil would go higher with upside targets, and this is what's happened. So don't. I've said that I told you so, but don't say I told you so. Something people may not have seen, like that price of olive oil. I saw that on BBC News that olive oil prices are going up. And so I then ran a chart. Something funny, but be careful. If I look at one of my posts that did do quite well over the last 90 days. Let's see if it's in here. It was the one on the mug, and this is an example where I was really in two minds as to whether I should run this. In fact, what I should do is do engagements, because that will remove the poll results. This is another little tip for you. And I'm going to go back 90 days, and I'm looking for the post with the most engagements, and I'm rather hoping. So this is really quite interesting. My charts today in front of the New York Stock Exchange got 62 engagements. This one was actually inside the New York Stock Exchange. I recorded the first bit. This is the one in the Bahamas. This was the olive oil one, got 41 engagements. This was a picture of a ticker tape machine in the New York Stock Exchange, and that got engagements. And then some of my charts, and I'm rather hoping I'm going to see this one that was potentially quite humorous. I recorded so it's not coming up. Was it more than 90 days ago? It probably was, actually. So if I go to 365 days, and this is why you do lose off the back. Oh yeah, it's this one here. So and I normally open these things in another tab, and this was something I saw someone post in an email. And it was the Silicon Valley Bank run. And this was when there was the run on Silicon Valley Bank. It had 125 likes and 16,000 impressions. Just arrived in my inbox. Did make me chuckle. And it was risky. But again, there's a chart, and it kind of related to my group. So you can be funny, but just be careful. That's quite key. Charts and comments on other leaders. So sometimes someone will post something. This guy, I quite like him. I watch his stuff, and I could put a comment, and I could put a chart in the comment and say, here's the target for sterling today, because he talks about currencies. It'd be a case of just commenting and putting a chart in the comment. And for my connections that have got like 100,000 followers, there's a few of them, that's brilliant, because all they're following see my stuff, and then they post and comment or like, and those likers are people that I could potentially add. So now we get to the best ways to add connections, and so this is really the meat of it. How have I got to this 30,000 connections? So the first thing is to add the likers. And if you think about the algorithm, the algorithm basically works on the basis that if you get lots of likes early and quickly from your audience, then they'll promote it to more people who hopefully will like. And once you get lots of likes, it kind of goes viral. So getting those 500 likes is really key. And those likers will be, some of them will be new likers that you can add. So and the theory is they've liked it once. They will remember who you are when you try to connect to them because they just saw your stuff and they liked you. So the sooner you can request a connection with someone who's liked your stuff, the more you're in their mind and the more likely they are to accept. And then also comments. So I'm just going to go through the process. And the first thing is you can only add about 100 people a week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show the process. So here are my notifications, and I'm just going to take that up a bit so you can actually see it on the screen. And these are people who will have potentially liked me, and so 3 others commented on your post. And sometimes, by the way, I get someone who's writing on my comment, do you want money to trade? Well, I don't really know what he is. This is a solution architect. There's not really someone there that I want to add. But looking in the likes, if I go down, most of these people will be in my contacts already because I posted in my group. So here's a CTA. I could go and say, yes, I'll add them. And I only got 300, and normally if they're less than 1,000 I probably wouldn't add them, but I'm just going to add this guy. So I'm going to send him a request, and that's now pending, and that's the first way that I go through. And I could go right the way through my notifications since Thursday when I hit my limit, and I can start adding those people. So this guy here, is he one of I posted in a group. So if he's posted in a group, he's less likely to be one of my contacts. He's not, his CO died chemical as in logistics. It kind of could be quite interesting. He's senior, he's based in New York. I'll go and add him. This one's interesting. Some of them require you to put in their email, so I can't add him. But he might follow me. And so that just sometimes happens. Not often, but it does happen. So adding the likers, just going through and looking, and so I haven't touched these. I can go back and just look at where these people have come from. So this one in technical analysis and traders, I posted this in a few groups last week. And are they a contact? They're not a contact. Speaks about funnels, finance. I'm not so sure. So you can see that not everyone I'm liking. And watch my portfolio. Yeah, why not? I'm feeling generous, so I will connect to them. And they will either accept my request or they won't. And so this is quite key because in the slide I have said you can only add about 100 a week. I think it seems to be that it's 100 requests that haven't been accepted because I definitely do seem to go above 100. But you will get a message. I try to add around 20 or 25 a day. Some days I go a bit crazy, but you will get a message, and I normally get that message around Wednesday or Thursday when I'm hitting my weekly limit, and it'll say you're close to your weekly limit, and then you'll get one to say you've reached your weekly limit. You can't add anybody else, and so that's that, and you can't add anybody else. And you have to wait till Monday morning before you can add again. But it's a process, and that's how, by adding all these likers, that's how I've got there. One of the things that's quite key in your network is invitations. Manage my network. So if I go connections, these are my connections. I just got to remember where I contacts. Is it here? Where is that I've added my connections? There is a place where invitations, see all, sent. So these are the people that want to connect to me. And normally I wouldn't have so many sitting there, but I've kept them for this course. So here are the people that I've got 626, and you want to keep that. I've said in the presentation, you don't really want to go above 700. Now, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that if you've got over 700 requests outstanding, and certainly I've hit the thousands, and I've got a message saying, you've invited too many people. And if these people are not requesting, then you've just got to trim it down. So what I do is I go probably every other week and I just start withdrawing requests. If they haven't accepted my request within a month, I'm just going to withdraw them. And so I get that down, and I can hold my mouse in the right place such that I can just click, 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 and get those down. So that's something you want to do as well. Add people who viewed your profile. Well, and first of all, add people who requested. So in my list here, I'm going to get rid of BBC News now. In my list here, the people who've requested to add me: founder, accelerator, growing future fintech companies. I'm not so sure. Doesn't have many of my contacts. And M&A advisory, empower shareholders. I hope this message finds you well. Unexpected my attention. No, I'm not interested, so I just go ignore. Providing solutions to monetize. So a lot of the people who want to add you are not the people you want, and so it's quite interesting. And so this one's here, business growth advisor. And sometimes I will add these people. He's got nearly 10,000 people, maybe, just maybe, and he's got quite a few mutual connections with that many followers. I've accepted. And the beauty of that is, in accepting him, it hasn't cost me in terms of one of my invitations. This guy is commercial construction, not sure about that. And this guy here works in government in Pakistan. He's got 400 connections. Government policies, I'm just not sure how that's going to work for me either. So you can see I'm getting quite fussy about who I connect with. I get a load of messages, and nearly all of these are junk, and it actually makes it quite hard to find the people who are, this one is someone who's interested, but I personally don't do outreach. It's called outreach, where you go out to someone and you look. Another way of adding connections is, here's a post. It's from the Chartered Market Technicians Association, and I look at that and go, capital markets professional, yes, he could be interesting. Head trader, yeah, he could definitely be interesting. And this guy's a portfolio manager, yeah, he could be interesting as well. I'm not sure about that guy. Founder of JD Investment, yes, and he could be interesting. Interestingly, he doesn't have, third means he doesn't have any mutual contacts, which would be unusual now. This guy is in Bogota, but yeah, I'm going to add him. And this guy is in Seattle, and he's in trading, and I'm going to add him. And because this guy's in Cyprus, so I could follow. If it says follow, you go to more, and the connect button is there. Just another little trick I didn't realize to begin with. I thought, how do I add them? And then this guy here is founder of JD Investing. He's in Mumbai. Why not? I'm just really showing you the process. So that's another way that I would add connections. So I've had people who like my content. So people who viewed your profile. So going to your profile, and I do this most days. So if I look here, who's viewed my profile? And again, these people should accept my addition, because so senior equity research analyst to Kepler Devereux, I just know he's someone I probably want to connect to. And operations manager at Grogan Group. I don't know, he found me in LinkedIn search, and I don't know what they do. And I just go through and look at the people. So first means they're already a connection. Third means they don't know anybody that I don't know. So this guy is a financial advisor. And second means that they connected with people that I'm connected with. And here where it says follow, it's probably that I've already sent him a request. So let's have a look. No, I haven't. But he works for PwC, senior tax associate. I'm not so sure. Just don't know. He's looked at me, but I'm not sure that he's in my core. This guy here clearly is. He's in Bologna, and I'm going to connect with him. So that's in Italy. Materials intelligence. My business, IT services. No, I don't want IT services because everyone tries to sell me IT services. It's the worst thing if you're a software company. So that's another way that you can add people. People like your posts, but always people you want. Add people who are your ideal connection in contact screen. Oh, this one's quite. I did this to begin with quite a bit, but I don't do it so much now. So if I click my network. And this is a good way to start early, but so this guy is a financial market and senior algo trader, so why not? Yeah. And this guy's an energy analyst, so yep, why not? This one's a physical trader, yep, so why not? And you can keep going, and people similar roles, and I can go right the way down and look at people. And typically for me, the real measure is there anyone here who's got this guy's got 54 connections, so he's connected to lots of people that I should be connected to. He's in carbon markets, and I talk about that quite a lot. So this one's 41 mutual connections, so I should probably connect with him as well. Remembering that those people are less likely to accept your connection because they didn't like you, they didn't look at your profile, you've just come out of the blue. The only hope you have that they will connect with you is, oh, he has lots of followers, so he must be worth following, and he knows a lot of people that I know, so he must be, he must be worth knowing. And add people who are contacts of others. So you could go. One thing you can do is you can go and look at someone who might be a competitor in your privacy settings and privacy. You just need to work out how to do this. You can actually make yourself invisible. Go and look at your and some people will leave their they'll leave their connections open. So mine are closed, so you can't go in and look at who I'm connected with. It'd be a bit overwhelming now with 30,000, but if I look at some people who I'm connected with, you click on that 500 and you can actually see, you can see mine because it's me, but if you look at my profile, you can't see that. So, this guy here, for example, was one of the guys I follow. He's got a lot of connections, and when I go to click on his connections, it is open. So these are the first. If I go to his second, these are people that I might want to be connected with. Yeah, it's not showing because it's just showing the people that I already know. So it'll only show you the people that you already know. So but some people do leave their profile open. Certainly if they've made a comment. So, this guy's mining group, he's had 490 likes. I can go through and I can go, who in there would I want to be connected with? So that's another thing. So if it's really close to talking about what you talk about, that's another thing. So quality, not quantity, especially now for me, because I can only connect to another 1,800 people and then I can't connect to anybody else. It's followers from then on in. So hopefully that's a really useful way for you to see that you can add connections. So you can add 100 people a week. If you write really good content, you'll get people wanting to connect to you, and you can basically build your following that way. And I'm typically adding around 250 a week, 1,000 a month, and that's through the process of people wanting to add me wanting to add people, and it's a process I'm showing you today that I'm not going to be doing for much longer because I'm going to be hitting my limit. So let's talk. I was going to show you how to do a poll because polls are really quite key. So you want to think of something in your subject area. So I'm going to think of a poll, and my poll, if I look back, so I want to look back and go, okay, what was the last thing? Bitcoin. What will the Fed do? I'm just looking for things that I haven't said for a while that I could re-say. Gold. Here's an interesting one. I asked, I should have put the date in, really. I can go back and count how many weeks ago, but will gold, and I could just do a simple poll here. I could say, will gold make a new high this year? So here I go poll, create poll. Will gold make a new all-time high this year? That's the question. And I'm going to say yes and no. This is what I call a binary question. And you can add up to 2 more options, but I'm not going to do that. And you can run it for a period of time. I find most votes occur within a day. And now I'm going to start saying gold. I'm going to say a couple of months ago, gold is, let's just see what I can say that's conversational. So I might need, by the way, when you do your chart sizes on LinkedIn, you want to set your chart size to 800 by 600. That's optimum. And when I put these in PowerPoint, so I go and take this, you can post direct to LinkedIn from here, but I really recommend you don't do that, and I'll explain why. So you can go and basically take that to the clipboard. Then I go to my LinkedIn posts, and I will post it here, and then I will put some text, and I grab that and save it as an image, and that's what I post. I tend to do you can do text and updater, but PowerPoint is, I have to admit, easier. So is gold, so I'm looking at gold here. Get rid of this Apple chart. Gold, what can we say? Gold is managing to hold 1950. Will it break 2000? So maybe that's our starting point. Gold is managing to hold 1950 despite the latest news on inflation. Will it break $2,000 soon? And more importantly, a new all-time high above. I'm a big fan of post-its. So, when I'm doing a poll, normally I would sit here and go, I've got a poster here that says, what's the burning question for my audience this week? So here is 207 to 50 this year. Question for group. It's a very simple poll. I will share the poll results on my profile page tomorrow. Thanks for voting. Now, why would I say that? Because I'm going to run it on different groups. I'm going to go gold, XAU. I have to say I haven't put a lot of thought into this. Precious metals, charts today. Oh, maybe I'll put inflation in there. Charts today and updater. So what I then do is I'm going to post that. So gold is managing, and I always just double read, and quite often I do this in Word, so just spell checks, and I can just say gold is managing to hold 1950 despite the latest news on inflation. Will it break 2000 soon? And more importantly, a new and soon? Question mark. More importantly, I'll put that down a level because that will, more importantly, will we see a new all-time high this year? Question mark. I will share the poll results on my profile page tomorrow. Thanks for voting. So I'm going to go and post that. So that is a poll. That's what it looks like. See more. So you can see there that it wants to make you wheel down to click that. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my LinkedIn, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at groups. So if I go here, these are my groups, and which groups will I want to post it in? And I do have my preferred groups, but metal trading, that's probably quite a good one. Link to commodities, let's try that one. Commodities group, that's 46,000 people. And I can look back and see how well each group posts. So, for example, this hedge fund group is quite good. And the key thing is including your own profile. You don't want to post in more than 6 groups. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus one more because this is the groups page. One more. There is somewhere a gold mining group. Why, that's actually in the past they haven't been brilliant. So I've got 5 groups, and this shows you how quickly I post across groups. I could do this with content, but I'm going to just show you how I do it with a poll. So, and this is really valuable because, I didn't know this a year ago. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab that headline there. I'm going to go to the steel trading group. I'm going to go poll. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to push Y for yes, N for no, and run it for a day. And then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to take this text just move Camtasia out of the way and post it there. Gold is management, and I do this pretty quick. I can post on 50 groups a post, not a poll, but I can post on 50 groups very, very quickly. Just Control Alt Delete, just post. Control Alt post V, Control C, blah blah blah. So we'll go yes, no, just double check it. That's posting to that group. It's successfully gone to the group. Now some of these, go back and grab the headline. Some of these will basically, and I'm going to do this now because I want the poll to all go out at the same time. So you've just got to bear with me while I do this. I could have pre-done some of this, I guess. But it's good for you to see the process. Done. Will gold make a new high this year? Go back here. And you can actually get clever. I'm going to show you how to get clever in a second. Yes. So what's clever is I can now go to this group. Will gold make a new all-time high this year? I can take it from that one, and this group will become public. So if I go here, some groups are private. It has to be approved. Yes, no, and I tend to steer clear of those groups, but remembering to do it as a day. Click. And now you see I've actually just got a bit cleverer because I've got the text in 2 places, and I can just go and grab it from different ones. Here's the hedge fund group. So I go here, go hedge fund group, poll. Yes, and these come up but if you just type the first letter, it will remember what you said. Yes. And the binary questions tend to get quite good response because they're quite quick to answer. Steel and metal trading. I don't know why that's not available. And there's someone just messaging me, this is painful. Oh, it's a nice message. I just halfway through the course and loving the content, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Well, that's great. Makes you feel good. And last of all, Gold Mining Group. So take it from there, and poll, and yes, and no, and one day, and take that. And I have just run that poll on 6 groups. Now what I've learned is if you run it on 7 or 8, it probably won't run. LinkedIn seem to be wise to it, and but I can tell you for nothing, you know, in terms of engagement. And then what I do is, if I look at my engagement, let's just get rid of this. So go to my tools, look at my impressions, and if I do this over the last 90 days, share results, what you're going to see is all of the best results are polls in terms of impressions. Engagement's not, but in terms of impressions. And whilst this poll is running, so I could probably go and already find people that are liking that poll, but whilst this poll is running, there we go, it's had 8 votes already. It's on mine, so it's unlikely that these people are not. Okay, here's one, senior trader. So I can also add people who have liked my poll, so I can connect with him. So it's just another way of adding users, and he's likely to accept. And I think there's something with LinkedIn where the people that accept you, it's the outstanding requests that don't, that are almost against you. So I think the more people you can add that are likely to accept you, the better. So where are we next? Here we go. So so what I then do, just so you know, is I will take that poll tomorrow and I will take it across the different groups, and I've got all these stats, and what I will do is I will take this, and I will already pre-do it, and I will say and it'll be yes, no, hold that. And then what I'll do is I'll just take those, clear the contents. I'll clear the contents, and this is all intelligence. I look back and see how well my poll is doing. And so last week got 30 likes. I know that's quite a good number. And you know, all the votes, and that's where I will, and then I'll put the different groups in, the different size of the groups, and then I'll get my stats. So that is just how I do the polls, and that's something I don't think anyone's going to show you on LinkedIn. So using Updata, well, we talked about chart sizes. I'm just going to show you very quickly in Updata how you would add. So let's say I wanted to talk about sterling. So here I could do a chart of sterling, and over in here in drawing tools and Updata, it is a little, it's not, it's a feature that very few people know about, but and only if you're sort of doing what I'm doing, if you want to wow your audience with charts. So GB is there. I grab that flag, and there's the flag there. It's a little bit, I would say, just temperamental. You've got to choose the transparency, you draw it behind the chart, you click OK, and then you can put it behind your chart. The beauty of this is it is behind all of the chart, so that's just one way I do the flags. And then I would take that out. I said here don't share this to LinkedIn, because if you share it that way, I could post this to LinkedIn now and put a comment in. The problem is I can't, if you do that, for whatever reason, the way the LinkedIn API works, we can't easily share that. So you're better to post the image and I can share it. And you can do the same with a screenshot as well, of course, but I take the whole screen, so I could take this screenshot and I can share the whole screen to LinkedIn, but I am better to actually take that screen, put it in PowerPoint, manipulate it, save it as an image, and then upload it and LinkedIn. If you do that, I can share it. Placing images, so if I take something like well, let's take the US dollar, and I could go and place an image behind this chart. And these charts are all the right size for LinkedIn. That's 800 by 600, and then I can go and grab a chart image. And it's a little temperamental, these sidebars that's sort of floating. And then I go to my LinkedIn pics, and I could, and you can see I've got lots of them. Where is something like Jerome Powell? Oh, there's one of Trump, so I might want to talk about Donald Trump, and so I can put him there, format that, take it behind the chart, reduce the opacity, okay, and that's how I do it, and resize it. And that just makes your charts more powerful. And certainly if you post any other thing like that, I will share it to my 30,000 audience, and hopefully that helps you grow your audience. So that's just one thing. I have saved charts as well. So in Updater, in the charts list, I've got a whole pile of saved charts. So US versus UK inflation, that's a chart that I'll have, and it's going to open this chart. And that's something I could reuse. I take it over to my PowerPoint, and I'll probably find there's something here like this one here where I've got these zones. I can actually just go and paste the chart. It's updated, and reuse, say the same thing again. And there'll be other charts that I will have saved, thinking like tech giants, for example. So Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and I might, want to comment on that again. So you can save the charts as you're going in Updater, and that's quite useful. Full screenshots, you can go to Updater and you can just take the whole screenshot, take a screenshot, you can save it, but you just take the screenshot and you paste it into your PowerPoint. And so here's one I did the other day on silver. I've got these nice little stamps, so I could just take that. I could go and choose something else, change the name, and edit the stamps and everything. So you can see how useful that is. So just reusing it is really quite key. And I can animate charts. It's a bit tricky to show you. I do it in Photoshop, but you can basically make a chart do one thing and then the next thing, and I'm going to probably start doing that more and more because animations are quite powerful on LinkedIn. So I'm coming up to an hour and a half. I wanted to try and do this sometime around a minute. So how can I help you? Well, I can reshare your posts with updated charts in, certainly, by liking and commenting, and I do that with quite a few of our users already. And anyone who likes and comments on me a lot, then I will generally do the same. Mentions in my post, so I can do @ and your name, so it mentions you. And then extra support from our team for LinkedIn. And hopefully this video has been a way in which you can take this learning and apply it. And so if you want to do more information or you want to ask anything, just go to ta@updata.co.uk. We'll support you through the process. It's in our interest to have our users posting on LinkedIn, which is part of my motivation for sharing this, and hopefully you too can grow your followers. And it's taken me probably 2 or 3 years to get from 1,000 to 30,000, but you'll add, I mean, it is knowing what I know now and the lessons you've learned here, you can add around 1,000 people a month. And that's, if you want to build your network, you do need to be patient, but, in a year from now, you could have another 10,000 people on your network. And the bigger it gets, the more it snowballs, and it'll just grow and grow and grow. And I'm now looking to double my audience from 30,000 to 60,000. So that's it. I hope it's helpful. Feel free to email. If you email TA@Updata, I will see those emails as well. Until next time, good luck. Bye for now.